but let your character earn trust. Wherever life takes you, may people recognize you, not only your excellence, but also your integrity and your genuine desire to serve. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the College of Economics and Management, I congratulate each and every one of you. And as you leave this campus, may the UP motto remain forever engraved in your hearts: honor and excellence in the service of the nation. Congratulations, SEM Class of 2026. May you continue to use your husay, puso, at talino to build a better and brighter future for our communities, our country, and the generations that follow. Mabuhay kayong lahat and padayon.
Thank you very much, Dean Catelo. Indeed, we must keep on moving forward. Despite the hurdles, despite the challenges, we keep forward to a future that awaits all of us here. We keep moving forward with honor and excellence in the service of the nation. And now, it is time to hear an inspirational message from our guest speaker, who will surely share wisdom and learning for today. Without further ado, to introduce our guest speaker, may we call on the Chair of the Department of Agricultural and Applied Economics, Dr. Bates M. Hembathan.
To our esteemed guest, speaker, alumni, faculty, UPLB and SEM administrators, proud parents, and most especially our graduates, good afternoon. As Chair of the Department of Agricultural and Applied Economics, it is my privilege to introduce our guest speaker, because to introduce him is to introduce one of our own. Mr. Juan Victor I. Hernandez, Jovi to those who know him, earned his bachelor's degree in agricultural economics here at UP Los Baños. Under Dr. Paciencia Manuel, he completed his undergraduate thesis on the export marketing of Philippine desiccated coconut, a title that would prove less a student requirement than a quiet prophecy. His career embodies this year's themes: pivots and adaptations. He spent 21 years with the PLDT Group, rising to head the enterprise business groups of PLDT and SMART, and serving as president and CEO of EPLDT, leading enterprise businesses across 3 continents. Then, at the very height of that success in technology, he pivoted to agriculture. In 2021, he joined the Metro Pacific Group, and today he is President and CEO of Metro Pacific Agro Ventures, leading a portfolio that brings food from our farms to our tables, from Carmen's Best to its dairy farms in Bukidnon. He is a director of the Axelium Resources and, most fittingly, chairman of the board of Franklin Baker. The young man who once wrote a thesis on exporting Philippine coconut now helps lead the very industry he studied, home again to Philippine agriculture, navigating markets and economy, and empowering the communities that sustain us all. He also trained at the Asian Institute of Management and at Wharton. Graduates, you are about to hear from a SEM alumnus who has already done what we now ask of you: to adapt, to pivot with purpose, and to bring your gifts home. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Juan Victor I. Hernandez to deliver his inspirational message.
Thank you to our distinguished university officials, respected faculty members, honored guests, parents, and most especially to the graduating students from the UPLB College of Economics and Management of 2026. A pleasant good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon. Sinacheck ko lang kung gising pa kayo. It is both a privilege and a humbling experience to stand before you today. To be honest, when they invited me to speak to the graduating class, my first reaction was, bakit ako? If there is one thing when I graduated, if I am going to be a candidate for something when I graduated way back in 1996, I think it would be the worst student of SEM. Now I got your attention, graduates. In the next 10 minutes or so, what I'd like to do is to share with you some of my personal experiences that have shaped me to who I am today, with a sincere hope of being able to impart to all of you very important life lessons that I have gained, which I think are critical for you to consider, given that we live in what economists call a very VUCA world, a world characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We live in an environment defined by relentless and unpredictable change. So, life lesson number one. Life doesn't always go as planned. When plans fall apart, it isn't the end of your story. It is an invitation to pivot. Unforeseen circumstances force us to adapt, and letting go of rigid controls often opens doors to opportunities, personal growth, and experiences we never would have anticipated. So allow me to share with you some very specific examples. When I sat where you are today, that was roughly 30 years ago, I thought I had my life all figured out. I believed that graduating with a degree of BS Agricultural Economics meant my career would naturally follow a straight path related to my course. Life, however, had different plans. In fact, my whole college life was what I would categorize as unusual. I am a proud UPLB alumni student, student number 9018180. I still remember. It is a number that all of you will never ever forget. I was a freshman BS Chemical Engineering student living at the YMCA beside men's dorm. And on my first year first SEM, I joined the Scintilla Juris fraternity and became a frat man. In 1991, I was already living in a frat house outside of campus without the knowledge of my parents, of course. That time, the fraternity scene in UPLB was also a very VUCA world. Magulo. Literally. Kasi maraming rambol. Okay? This was the year I met my sis from the Astronciente sorority, Miss Maria Bernadette Ortega, who was a communications art student from the College of Arts and Sciences Humanities Department. This picture on the left-hand side was actually taken right here in Baker Hall in I think 1991. In 1993, she became Mrs. Maria Bernadette Ortega Hernandez, and we've been together for 32 years. Our eldest son is now 32 years old, and since you guys are graduating students from the College of Economics, I'm pretty sure you can do the math. Di ata nila nakuha. So I had my son when I was a sophomore. Okay, and my wife was freshman still during that time. And despite my long, shiny black hair, I realized that chemical engineering wasn't really for me during that time. And that was when I shifted to BS Agricultural Economics under the College of Economics. There was also another relevant reason why I had very long hair during that time. Yan. One of my dreams was really to become a rock star. Totoo yan. And despite being married and still pursuing my studies, I guess part of me being young and reckless, I really pursued this passion in music. I did it professionally in the 90s, and I was in a band called Nash under Ivory Records, and we had our own successes under our belt, such as being part of 3 compilation albums, releasing our self-titled album, TV and radio guestings, playing in clubs, having concerts in the provinces, and venues such as PICC, and also getting nominated in the Awit Awards for Best Christmas Recording. Of course, we lost. Kasi kalaban namin si Martin Rivera and Gary V. Siyempre, talo kami, di ba? And yes, as seen in the picture, our self-titled album was in CD format. Not sure if this graduating class knows what a CD is. No more? Your generation already is in the digital age of Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and other similar musical platforms. I remember doing this when I started my first job in Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, which was totally unrelated to agricultural economics, wherein I would be in the office from 9 to 5. After 5 o'clock, a van will be waiting for me outside the office. I would jump in the van, go to the province to play a concert until 12 midnight, spend an hour with the fans after the show, ride back to Manila, arrive at home at 5 a.m., take a shower, and get ready for the office again the next day. I did that for 2 years. Of course, all of that was also pursued in order to earn a living to support my family. So to cut the long story short, if we call a spade, it seemed like I had the perfect recipe for failure. I married young, still studying, living the rock and roll lifestyle, and my first job was totally unrelated to agricultural economics. So to all of you who are graduating on Saturday with flying colors, congratulations and a job well done. To those of you who are graduating with just the right amount of colors para pumasa, congratulations pa din, but fear not. Your college diploma, nor your transcript of records, is not the only determinant to your success in the real world. I kid you not. I am not particularly proud of the fact that when I revisited my transcript of records, I had Math 55. You remember Math 50? Do you guys have Math 55? No? Math 11. So yun nga, it's the same thing because I took it 5 times. I took that subject 5 times. Okay, if you have Math 55. UPLB did not simply teach us agricultural economics or agribusiness or economics or entrepreneurship. That just pertains to the aptitude, which is just 10% of the equation to success. More importantly, you have to be retrospect. UPLB taught us the more important life lessons critical to life, like critical thinking, solving problems, analyzing situations, communicating with different types of people, and making sound decisions despite all the noise in the background. Those things build character, which shape one's attitude. And that, my friends, comprise 90% of the equation for success in the real world, especially in a VUCA world. Being in the private sector for many, many years, I tell you, when we look at candidates for employment, we look at many things, but there are only a few critical items that we really focus on when making hiring decisions. Number 1, since taga-UP ka, may advantage ka na. Yan ang number 1. Number 2, of course, we look at your course and your grades, but that is really not that important. It is already expected when you apply for a job, or a position, or a role, you already have the aptitude for the role, or at least the basic foundations, because we will train you anyways to ensure that we get your 10% aptitude right. The most important aspect that we look at is attitude. Can you work with teams? Do you have a positive outlook? Do you have good communication skills? Can you handle stress? In other words, we look into 4 types of intelligence. Intelligence quotient, emotional quotient, social quotient, and adversity quotient. I had one example that I'd like to share with all of you. A month ago, we were interviewing a magna cum laude graduate. I won't say what school anymore, for a particular position in the office. And we did it online. And every single question that I ask, it will take her 5 seconds before she will answer. It ended up that she was reading ChatGPT to the answers to my questions. This is a magna cum laude graduate, ladies and gentlemen. So always be authentic. If we hire you, we are hiring you for who you are. So keep that in mind. Stay true to who you are. In the past 25 years of my corporate career, and relating it back to our context that we live in a VUCA world, the only thing constant in this world is change. And according to Charles Darwin, and I quote, "It is not the strongest nor the most intelligent of the species that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." Your college degree is not a cage that limits your future. It is a foundation that prepares you for opportunities you may not even imagine today. Many of you most likely will end up in agribusiness, government, banking, technology, entrepreneurship, development work, education, finance, or even industries that don't even exist yet. Do not be afraid if your journey looks different from what you planned. Sometimes the road that seems unrelated becomes the very road that prepares you for your true purpose. I would also like to stress that your graduation this Saturday is not the end of your education. It is the beginning of a lifetime of learning. Your diploma is not proof that you know everything. It is proof that you have learned how to learn. And that is one of the greatest gifts UPLB has given you. So in order to give practical applications to this, let's go back to my little life story to hopefully make it a little bit more relatable to the graduating class. I was working for HSBC for 2 years, still doing the rock and roll lifestyle, and still didn't mention that I also pursued being a commercial model during the time, kasi mabilis ang model sa commercial modeling eh. Picturean ka lang, after ng picture, bayad ka na. May pera na yung pamilya ko, di ba? I realized in a certain point in my life that something had to change rather than leaving everything to chance. Major changes. I cut my hair, and for someone who has worn long hair almost all of his college life, and even during my own wedding, that was a very, very big change. Despite the odds and the circumstances I was in, I actually resigned from HSBC, my main source of income for the family. I took a loan from my parents to pursue a master's degree in business management at the Asian Institute for Management that I took full-time for 2 years. From there, I found myself a job at PLDT as part of a management trainee program in the year 2000. I was the executive assistant of the head of corporate business, Mr. Al Panlilio. MVP just invested in PLDT at the time, about 1998, and so I witnessed the transition from the Coangcos to the MVP group. Do note that this is the telecoms and technology space, which was miles away again from agricultural economics. I knew nothing about telecoms at that time, and that was a time we were transitioning from the business from voice to data, and internet was still dial-up internet. Do you guys know what dial-up internet is? No. No, that was the time when you had internet in your house, you had to shout to everybody that you will use the internet so no one will touch the phone to make a call, because if somebody makes a call, your connection will get disconnected. Ganun na kami ka-archaic. Anyway, after roughly 6 months, I wanted to resign because I wasn't really doing anything that much. Mr. Al Panlilio, we were 10 AIM graduates that landed a position in PLDT during that time under the management trainee program. And after your master's degree, you're raring to go and you wanted to do something really substantial. But I was just doing special projects, and I was the only one from AIM who landed a job at the 7th floor of the PLDT Ramon Coangco building, which is the exact same floor of Manny V. Pangilinan and all of the other top executives of the group. All of them had rooms. It was only the secretaries that were in the middle who did not have rooms. I was part of that group that did not have rooms. So in other words, I also felt like I was part of the secretary pool, right? But in hindsight now, when I look at it, it has actually given me an opportunity to have a bird's eye view of the business because I dealt with all of the department heads of the corporate business, and that gave me a good view of what the business was about. Anyway, instead of resigning, Mr. Panlilio asked me to create the credit department that I eventually headed for 2 years. Credit naman ngayon. Hindi naman ako finance. Hindi rin ako nag-accounting. Agi-econ ako eh. But I told them that I will learn the job. After 2 years, Mr. Panlilio was replaced by Mr. Eric Alberto because Al was actually tasked to lead PLDT Global and he was going to be based in Hong Kong. Mr. Alberto, during that time, talked to me and said, Jovi, I need you to go to Cebu to be the head of corporate business Visayas. So here I was again with another change. I had to uproot my whole family, bring my car, bring my refrigerator, all the way to Cebu to become the head of PLDT Visayas for 2 years. And to cut the long story short, the number of the revenues of PLDT Visayas doubled during that time. And we were about to make an investment and said that, let's live in Cebu. Cebu is the perfect place. It's just 1.5 hours away from Manila. It was close to the beach. The food was fantastic. Yet again, anong nangyari? Mr. Eric Alberto called me and said, Jovi, we need you back in Manila. And literally 2 weeks after, my whole house, my whole family, my car went back to Manila. But in hindsight also, Cebu gave me a very, very big gift that I will always treasure. That was where my daughter was born, Cebuana. Kasi nung hindi pinaplano, nangyari sa UPLB. Nung pinaplano, ayaw naman mangyari. The difference was 10 years. My son was 10 years old, and I had a daughter in Cebu. So yet another change in my life. I think what's most important to impart to all of you was that this was a signal to management that you must be flexible and willing to move around. And that is something that I would also like to impart to all of you because I could have always said no. I'd rather stay in Manila. But that has changed my life forever. So in the rest is history, and I've spent 21 years of my corporate career in PLDT, as mentioned in the introduction. I became a part of the accolades I was given. I was a board of trustee in the IT and Business Process Outsourcing Association of the Philippines. I was the director of the Semiconductor Industry Association of the Philippines. I was the director of Acacia PTE Limited, which is the amalgamation of the 7 largest telcos in the ASEAN region. And I was pretty known in the industry. In fact, everybody called me Mr. PLDT during that time. But to make the case on the importance that this is a lifelong learning journey as well, I was privileged enough to be sent to the Wharton School, Business School, University of Pennsylvania, by MVP. So I actually felt pretty good after graduating the Advanced Management Program. I was at the helm of the PLDT Group, and I was doing very well. I was handling a portfolio worth 50 billion pesos, and life was perfect. And then, in one of the board meetings, MVP called me and sat with him, with Al Panlilio. I think you see a pattern. What did MVP tell me? Jovi, I think it's time for you to be your own CEO. So he basically asked me to leave PLDT and transfer to Metro Pacific, which is like the mothership of the MVP group of companies, initially to head the logistics business of the group. Naalala ko pa yung sabi ko kay MVP, boss, hindi naman ako logistics person eh. Kaya ko siguro mag-drive ng truck, but I'm not a logistics person. But what I can commit is I will learn the business as fast as I can. After 2 years, we closed down the logistics business. So there I was, doing nothing. And in hindsight, but I told the MVP, boss, while waiting for this to happen, why don't I start the venture of the group into agriculture? So parang umikot ako, no? And now I found myself back in agriculture. And after we incorporated the Metro Pacific in AgroVentures in way back in October 2022. So roughly about 3.5 years of operations, we are now into 3 lines of businesses. We have a dairy business, we have a dairy farm located here in Bayan, Laguna, near Erie. I hope a lot of you knows the brand Carmen's Best. Ay, hindi nyo alam ang Carmen's Best? Siguro mo alam nyo, no? Gising pa ba kayo, graduating class? Okay, good. So we do Carmen's Best. We bought the Universal Harvester Dairy Farms out of Bukidnon. And we are now the largest dairy farm in the country providing fresh products to the Filipino consumer that is composed of only 100% fresh milk products. In Wharton, I was the leader of a cohort of 6 individuals, 4 Americans and 1 Japanese, and we had a social enterprise project. My social enterprise project during that time was building greenhouses in the Philippines, and the business model was very simple. 10% of the produce of the greenhouse will be given to the farmer for free, for him to give to his family, and we will still make a profit. Today, Metro Pacific AgroVentures has already established Metro Pacific Fresh Farms, and we are the largest greenhouse facility in the country, producing vegetables all year round. We have a small facility that produces 60,000 lettuce heads every single month, all year round, non-stop. So it is now applying technology to agriculture food systems with the intent of really increasing quality and increasing yield. And lastly, nung sinabi nga, by divine providence, I am now also part of the coconut industry. Yes, my thesis was export marketing of desiccated coconut, and I was telling Dr. Shell the story a while ago. We invested in Alumnus Resources Corporation, one of the largest coconut exporting companies in the Philippines. And I remember when we were doing our due diligence, I told the chairman of Axelum, Boss Romy, alam mo, ang thesis ko doon, export marketing of desiccated coconut in 1996. And I was doing it in a company in Magallanes. Ang sabi sa akin ni Chairman Romy, we're the only coconut company in Magallanes. So it ended up 30 years ago, I did my thesis in the same company that we were acquiring. And I am now a director of Alumnus Resources Corporation. And last but not the least, December of last year, we bought into Franklin Baker Company of the Philippines, which is the largest coconut exporting company in the Philippines. Its capacity is 3 times larger than Axelum, but it's really well known in terms of taking a look at how we can turn around the business. So, more importantly, I believe I am back to my roots in UPLB and giving back to our beloved country and to our countrymen. The coconut industry alone for Franklin Baker, we support about 6,000 coconut farmers in Quezon all the way up to Bicol and also in Davao, in Mindanao. And this is really deeply rooted in the values instilled by our alma mater to me personally. And don't get me wrong, agriculture is very, very hard. And it requires a lot of patience. But if you believe in the cause and you love what you do, you will be able to make up every morning fired up and take on the task ahead. And every single day, I do the boy abunda test. If you're able to look at yourself in the mirror and smile at yourself and you're saying, you're doing good, you're doing well, then you're doing something correct. So, in closing, I hope that I was able to give you a little bit of inspiration from my own personal experiences. I wasn't the ideal student, but attitude and really making sure that you focus on the right things will allow you to achieve success eventually. Success is not measured by how high you climb. It is measured by how many lives who have become better because you climb. Never stop learning. Never stop believing. Keep your moral integrity and honesty always intact and unquestionable. Work is not life. Life is not work. Work hard, but play harder. And do not forget about taking care of your health. A lot of people depend on you to empower your family and loved ones, to empower communities. And I think it is most important for you guys to empower yourself. And wherever life takes you, always remember, once an scholar ng bayan, always an scholar para sa bayan. Congratulations again to the graduating class. Class, God bless all of you. And in anything and in everything that you do, always be a rock star. Maraming salamat at mabuhay po sa inyo lahat.